She's runs, Jessica runs an incredible team out in California, and her numbers are pretty impressive. She this year to date they've done 125 million. Their average sales price is 695. So we're like, oh, they're in California. They're doing $2 million to $5 million deals. Nope, they're just like us. They're doing 695 transaction price point. And they're very listing focused. 95% of her business is listing sides. And she's in the top five of the entire country of 85,000 agents. So that's pretty crazy to be like the top five in the country. Um, Very much a great leader, always like very positive. Nothing gets her down. She's very deal focused and just client focused and very much about sharing what her knowledge is and helping others get where they want to go. So we just greatly appreciate you being here, Jessica. We know it's 7 a.m. in California.
Yeah.
Um, and everybody wants to know, what are you doing? So we send out, just so y'all know, we send out like hundreds of texts to let everybody know like it's going on. And when we sent out the text for Jessica, the response was, "Oh my God, I love her. Oh my God, how did she do that? How is she doing so many transactions in her lifetime?" And just the whole response was overwhelming. So thanks for being here. Thanks for taking the time. We know you're busy and we want to learn from the best. So here you go. I was told I'd ask her a couple of questions this morning just to kind of get her talking a little bit about. So let me ask you a question, Jessica. How do you keep yourself motivated? Like when the market, when people are saying some one thing on the news and the radio, and how do you get yourself up and go, I don't care what the rest of the world's saying. We're doing X. How do you do that?
I just saw so many good faces, familiar ones and new ones. I just saw Dana Flanagan pop on here.
Yep.
I would say this. I've always been a very competitive person by nature, but I'm more ambitious than I am competitive, meaning that I'm more competitive with myself every day than I am with anyone else. So there's really no one in my view, like in my mind, my self-talk in the morning is pretty controlled. Not every day, but I would say, it takes effort to wake up in the morning and control what your thoughts are. Um, who anyone agree?
Totally
I think I
agree.
thought it
Is
was
that
the
fair?
same way when you guys when he was at the vet last in Maryland.
Oh, I think
How much do
Enza's
you
got
guys
her mic on.
I muted her. Got
So
him.
yeah, I would say like, self-talk from the beginning of the morning is just what I'm going to create, what I'm excited about. And, if self-talk can make you feel a little bit down or a little bit discouraged about the state of what's going on in the world or what's going on in your business, if then use that as a tool to, against yourself, right? To use it as a tool to put yourself in the right mindset. There's a lot of opportunity out there. So I wake up pretty excited. So.
If we usually, when I've talked to you, you've been up at like really early. What does your day look like for you
Yeah, I
typically?
would say I got away from the perfect morning thing a while back, and I just focus on like what's going to work for me today based on how I feel. So most days, if I can get outside with the dogs, or at least like put my feet in the ground and like go outside and look at the sky and like feel like a human for 5 seconds. I am a workaholic, and I've recovering from that. It's served me well, but I'll find any excuse in my past to get up. If I wake up at 4, then I'll start work at 4. If I wake up at 5, I'll start work at 5. So just making time for me to feel human and connected to my family, maybe call my dad or, do something like that. And then throughout the day is what I change. So instead of having the perfect morning or the perfect whatever, it's like make time for you throughout the day when you're feeling frustrated, tired, just like a little bit burnt out or something's just not working. Just get up and take a 5. And that's something that has been really helpful for me, just to kind of breathe back into what you're doing. So it sounds so simple, right? But these simple
Yeah.
things are can be life changers for us for sure.
Yeah, there's no such thing as perfect day, is there?
Nope. We all know that. We're realtors.
Especially in real estate. I'm
Yeah.
going to do this tomorrow, and that doesn't happen.
No,
So,
not at all.
do you want to just jump in and kind of share a little bit about what you want to share with us and kind of share like how you're making it all happen? We're just all curious,
Yeah.
like how do you get there? Like, at
Yeah,
your level.
absolutely. So I'm going to share a little bit behind the scenes too, so you all understand. So I've been in the business since actually 2008. I did a lot of property management, so learned a lot about the in and outs of that in terms of dealing with tenants and understanding landlords and investors and things like that. I didn't get my license until 2013. And in 2013, or before 2013, in 2011, I helped an auction company. We were a bidding service for investors at foreclosure sales. So we also did online acquisitions, et cetera. And we helped investors purchase about 3,000 properties within a couple of years. So when that all dried up in 2013, and everybody went on to do something else, some into capital, some to do flips, different things, I got my real estate license. And I remember sitting at the desk, and I've got my real estate license. I'm not in the office anymore. I'm at home on a laptop, but I've got my phone. And I thought to myself, like, I have no idea how to start a real estate business. I know nothing about it. I know a lot about how to underwrite a property and understand what it's going to rent for, what it's going to sell for, how to reach out to the agent and have a great conversation and get lots of information about what happened in the short sale. I know how to use the MLS. I've got all my tools. I know all these things. Pretty good communication skills. Love to be on the phone. But I didn't know where to start. So I started by calling people and asking them how I could help. Investors is where I was focused. So I started calling all the investors, and it was like, no, 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 we're good, we're good, we're good. So I got a little bit more creative about how I was going to help them, and I offered things that were a little bit different than, do you need help selling a property or buying a property? And it was, hey, do you need me to connect you to any vendors? Do you need more contractors? Yeah, yeah. Actually, we are looking for somebody to do X and Y and Z, and I just stayed in front of them like full court press with how I could help. And that turned into like, do you want to list a house? Yes, and I've cultivated that into a really, really successful business. We also do asset management. So you guys, a lot of agents will see that I have the high production, but a lot of the ways that we acquire the business is through offering other services. So for example, we do, small remodels, not big, huge remodels, but we do carpet and paint and kitchens and things like that. And we'll remodel a house and reposition it for the market once it becomes an asset that they want to sell. So we just got creative about I'll put it this way, everyone is replaceable. We're all replaceable, right? In anything that we do. And so the way I look at retention of customers and recurring business is to become the least replaceable as possible. And we're only as good as our last deal, right? Everybody agree with that, right? People only continue to work with us because they feel that we're the best at what they do. So I have a slide presentation. I am going to pop it up in a little bit, but I actually first wanted to share something because I want to come to the group and share something that's interesting, because we're all flooded with information and opportunities to be around really smart people all the time. So I thought we could have a little conversation about something that I think is very interesting. How many of you have done a CMA in the last couple weeks? Anybody on this call? Pretty much everybody? Be fair? Okay, cool. So from the time that the customer actually asked you to do a CMA, what would you say is like the average turnaround time that you send it over to them? Anybody want to share? Nora, you guys got to engage with me here, so I don't feel like I'm talking at you.
Usually
Come
a
off your
day or
mic.
less.
A day or less? Okay, that's good. Anybody else? All right. So RPR did this study, and I just read through it yesterday, and it was really interesting. I've got it in front of me if you see me looking at it, but they said that 84.4% of real estate agents that they surveyed said that responding fast to a seller is extremely important. Okay, that's fair, right? That's pretty obvious. But only 7% typically respond within an hour. Isn't that interesting? So we actually have a practice on our team where we believe that speed is very important, but it's also important to do things excellent. And I think that one of the struggles that agents may have with CMAs, and don't worry, we're not going to talk about CMAs the whole time, but I wanted to talk about this with you guys because I think right now there is this trust gap of where people are trusting AI to do things less, and they're actually wanting a real estate agent, like percentage wise, they've done these surveys, that they really want you in the transaction. Even though they know you're using the tools, they want you. Okay. So if within an hour you could get back to them with a CMA, You know what that means? You're ahead of 93% of realtors. So we're all about speed and also doing things excellent. So I wanted to show you all a little tool that we put together in an hour, and this is pretty cool. Who's on Hub at eXp Realty? Everybody knows how to use that yet? Okay, cool. Shelly's making sure you're in front of the tools. So if you go inside your Hub and just make a note of this, write down the word House Canary. I want to make sure that you know about this tool because it just became available to eXp agents. We were at the top 250 mastermind in what city were we in, Shelly? Oh, New Orleans. Thanks. Just recently, we were in New Orleans, and we were in the room, and we're talking about different tools that everybody thought would be helpful. And I raised my hand and said, "Yeah, we'd love to have House Canary." And Leo said, "Well, how many else of you in the room would think House Canary would be helpful?" And about 80% of the people raised their hand, right? Because Leo's a great leader, and he believes that if something's important to one of us, well, is it important to like about 80% of us? Then it's a heck yeah, right? So we went outside of the room. He made a phone call to the CEO of House Canary. He came back in. He said, "Hey, what do you think about this deal or that deal?" And we said, "Yeah, let's do it." So he signed a deal, and we're now official partner of House Canary. House Canary costs, I think it's like $12 per, like for $20 a month, you get 5 or something like that. And then it's $12 per CMA. It's not really sustainable to do that if you're doing a lot of CMAs, right? We've done like hundreds of CMAs this year. So he worked up a deal. If you go into your Hub and you click House Canary, as an eXp agent, you get 5 free a month, right? And then if you pay $20 a month, you get unlimited until we break it, he said.
Oh, yeah, I remember him saying that, unlimited.
So that's about 90% off. It's a really great tool. So I'm not going to, demo the tool here. I just want you guys to know that this tool has really, really great. I think their average is like 2.7% sold to actual sold price or AVM to actual sold price. So it's decent. But you're still able to pick your comps or delete a comp or whatever. But what I'm telling you is that your client, you already kind of know what the best comp is, right? You're going to look and say, well, the model match sold for this. There aren't a whole lot of other sales, or, I want to tell a story. You're using the CMA as a tool. You're giving them the data, but you're the one giving them the context, right? Yes or yes. So who cares about the CMA and the CMA being perfect? Just create the CMA and give it to them. So what we're more focused on is creating something like this. And I'm going to show you one example. We had a guy call me. He says, "Hey, you've sold 2 houses on Gifford. So in the last couple months on the street that they're on. So we thought you might know a little bit about our neighborhood and wanted to see if you could talk to our parents about selling their house." And I said, "Sure." So, whoops, let me go out of here. Let me share this screen here. Can you all see that? Yeah. Okay. I don't have it in presentation view for a reason. I'll show you why.
Might have to make it a little bit bigger, Jess.
Make it a little bit bigger. How's that?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So the reason why I want to share this with you is that this is something that anybody can do. We're using a combination of Canva and present. Here we go. All right. Well, you guys, I wanted to show you an actual Canva, not presenter mode. So this is a front picture of their house after we went.
We're seeing your speaker script, and you're welcome, Jess. Not seeing your.
Well, that's not for this.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
All right, hold on a second. I'm glad you told me. Somebody had to tell me. Thanks, Shelly. All right, let me try one more time. So we go into Claude after we have our initial conversation, and we share what are the main friction points that the seller currently has. Like, what are they faced with? What are their challenges? And then we do an avatar for the buyer of their property. So who is the person that is actually going to buy their home, right? Here we go.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, now you can see it? Okay, cool.
Yes. Yep, thank you.
Okay, so our initial conversation is just building a little bit of trust, having conversation, building rapport. Remember that most people in the United States are somewhat lonely. That's a real fact. So people just really want to feel seen, heard, and understood. They don't want to feel pitched. So ask them about their family. right? Ask them about where they're moving. We all know this. I know you're preached to it, but I really want you guys to really think about being more intentional about doing it, right?
It's a really good
So
point,
this,
Jessica, because people feel like they're bothering people. And the fact that you're telling
yeah,
us that they're not feeling heard tells you you're not bothering them when they can feel heard.
right. Yeah, I think 57% of Americans are lonely, not because they lack context, but because nobody is showing up with depth.
Perfect. That's amazing.
That's a real stat, right?
Yep.
So the way that we help people feel seen, heard, and understood is by asking questions and listening and not waiting to say the next thing, right?
Hmm.
So I wanted to share these decks with you because as you can see, some of them, they're all customized. And I created all of these with Claude by giving it all the information about my conversation. This, for example, is a portfolio of four single family homes, two multifamilies. I've sold both of the multifamilies, and I have one under construction. Another one I told them to keep. And then the other two, we're keeping the tenants in for a bit because they need to keep a little cash flowing from the rentals because they're reinvesting the capital. And this is like part of their income.
Hmm.
How many other agents did they interview? Like five or six. All of them were telling them how they were going to sell the property and what they were worth. They know the property is going to sell. That wasn't what was important to them. What was important was how to get from A to Z. And this one in particular is one I wanted to share with you, though. We have this one active on the market. So engaged couple, they are getting married on September 5th, and their parents want to move back to Indonesia, sell their house and move back to Indonesia 2 weeks after. And
Wow.
the gal lives in the house with her parents, and the fiance lives in Orange County, and they just bought another house together, but she's staying there with the parents to help them through the transition. So a human being that you're talking to on the phone did not hire us because I sold two houses down the street, which I did, but they hired me because we helped them by showing them a process of how in the hell are you going to get married? Your parents pack up your family house and your parents are moving out of the country, right? That's the only question in her mind. And so we broke it down into a process. Now these are everything that you see in here is all customized. So, for example, your home, your timeline, our promise. Selling the home where your family has built its life is never just a transaction. This season is even more meaningful with a wedding to celebrate in September and a move plan. Just do you see what I'm saying? Now,
Hmm.
the reason why I'm putting these two things together, I went from talking about fast CMAs to customizing this presentation that I send afterwards, or depending on how, if you're talking on the phone and then you're going in person, I sometimes send it in between. It depends on what makes the most sense. It's a little flex the way our process works. But the point is that if you stop focusing so much on pricing the house right before you actually win the trust and the connection and showing them the process, you could put more of that time and get more of that time back into customizing what their plan looks like.
Hmm.
Does that make sense?
Really good. Yes.
So from the time that we show up at a house, we start making a list immediately. So we help them spend $4,700 inside of 48 hours to scrape all the peeling paint around the exterior of the house, paint all the rusted railings, get an HVAC inspection, a roof inspection, get the solar loan, a prelim. We did all of that within 2 days
Hmm.
because we were super hyper focused on preparing their house for sale. In the meantime, injecting a little bit of laughter. Like we show up at the house with coffee, just being human rather than hiring workers. Show up with the workers to make sure that they know exactly the punch list you want them to do, and get your hands dirty a little bit. Like I'm sure you seem like all great people, so you know what I'm talking about. So that's more or less a little bit what I wanted to share to start. Um, this is another one I just got in Fallbrook last week that we listed. And this property, this guy was dry. He's an engineer, different kind of person, right? So you're talking to a person that cares more about data. So instead of just giving him the comps, we spent our time, we downloaded the list of every realtor that has sold a house, buyer or seller, buyer or listing agent. And I had someone on my team call into every single one of them, ask them how many offers they had. We looked at how many days they were on the market. We asked them what the features were that sold the home if they're the buyer agent. And we put all of that data together and we shared that with the home seller. The other agent he was interviewing, by the next day, by the time that he signed our listing agreement, had not yet sent him the CMA.
Yep.
Is this helpful to anyone? Interesting or
Yeah.
useful?
I
Craig?
also like the words you're using,
Yeah.
strategic sale,
Strategic sale.
because you're talking
Because,
to an engineer.
right. See, you gave me the goosebumps because it's that intentional. And what was interesting is that he's very interested in data. So he says, well, what are you going to say, about my house that's, to make it sell? And I said, well, this is exactly what we're going to do. And I'm going to show you this. I thought instead of slides, I would be a little bit more open about
Great.
our process,
Very
right?
great.
So here's the first email I sent him on July 24th. Okay. Can you guys see this at all?
Yes.
A
Perfect.
little bit? Okay. So on July 24th, I sent him the email, which was 13 days ago. Thank you very much for taking my call. Attached to the CMA, the CMA for your property, the estimated net sheet. Okay, I knew he was a seller. He's gonna probably have to pay to get out of this house. He wants to move to where his daughter's gonna go to college. He lost his wife, and so he wants to be near his daughter. And she's moving to Washington, and he bought brand new construction in 2024. So he's going to be kind of like probably a net loss of maybe 5-10 grand, not a lot, but a little bit. So I thought, well, let me reach out to my escrow company that doesn't charge the seller an escrow fee. So I sent him this, and then I also attached the net sheet. I think somebody's got their mic on.
I just
I
turned it
sent
off.
him a net sheet, right? So I said, hey, this is what I think we should list your house at because of the market's changed. Like, even though that one sold 3 months ago, we need to position you to get an offer sooner. Let's list at 975. You're going to net, lose probably about 4360. And then guess what else I included? The House Canary Property Explorer, right?
Mhm.
So I actually used the MLS to really look through and be strategic about how I was going to price his property. But this is what I provided him. And it gave him a really nice, look, it's got all kinds of graphs and charts and fancy colors, and it's got the comps, right? You could select a different comp, whatnot, but it gives him some nice data, and he's an engineer. And then we had a conversation about that.
I also like
Then,
if you write the words, um, your process and your commitment.
mhm,
I think those are
yeah,
really important because he needs to know you're committed to that sale.
I agree. And then the next thing we did was I sent him a drafted listing agreement after I had already put it in his packet. But I sent him a drafted listing agreement. And I always ask, is there anything, if you have questions, we could go through it. And I use the EXP form, right? The gold standard.
Yep.
Always use that within our supplemental, 500 of disclosures in California. And then check it out. I sent him an items to do list. I mean, he's got the towels and all the things. We're not going to stage the house. He had good furniture. So I got very literal. Place green cushions on outdoor furniture. Remove everything from the surface of the refrigerator. Fresh wipe down on surfaces. Put some flowers in the front. Why do you think I told him to put flowers in the front? Because it just made him feel good. He was excited. He picked yellow flowers and he was really excited. He really liked that. Anyway, so he signed off on the listing agreement, and then I said, we're ready to go live. But check this out. I said, we're ready to launch your beautiful home on the market today. Please confirm Sunday from 12 to 4 would work for an open house, blah, blah, blah. But I said, please confirm on the since you were the first owner of the home and have enjoyed it for 2 years, I'm asking you to review the listing description draft to ensure I didn't miss any huge upgrade or feature that you love the most about the home, since the next buyer will likely fall in love with the same features, right? And then boom, we already had his photos done. And check this one out. Whoops. Oh, it's gonna be slow. This is pretty cool, right?
Mm.
Right. And I have a photographer on my team, so he's able to go out and get us, but we do the full floor plan, drone, everything else. And then I shared what I promised him, which was behind the scenes. I said, as promised, I've included some data points about our potential buyer and keywords that we discussed that I weaved into the description for your reference if you're interested. Of course he is. He asked me about it. So I showed him, hey, here's the buyer avatar. There's 3 avatars of the type of person that's going to buy your home. And here's the keyword bank of all the things that are important to them. And that's what we put into the description and into our marketing. So anyway, I just wanted to give you a little bit behind the scenes of some of the things that we're doing. That's very helpful to us in winning the customer. And let me get back over to.
I like your what positioning of how you position everything you share with the consumer or the client. I
Yeah, the
think really,
transparency is really helpful, right?
and this like the keyword bank, the words that you're using are very intentional, and it doesn't sound like every other realtor. Like here's your
Yeah,
description, like property description. Not everyone uses that. It sounds very like basic, but
right.
like you put your, it's very intentional and very it elevates you as a professional, the way that you word everything and how you do it. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think it's all about differentiating ourselves. And I never have to speak bad about a competitor to win a deal, right?
Obviously, yeah.
It's just that they're going to choose me. And real estate is fun, but if I were being really honest with you guys, like I would love to do nothing, hang out with my dog. Like so so I just want to remind you, we're funding our purpose, but we're also funding other people's purpose, their purpose in life. And real estate gives us this beautiful opportunity to live any kind of life we want, any size dream that we want. And so that's my differentiator is I believe that I love technology. And I think it's your advantage to win your unfair share of listings, but you have to be human first and tech powered, right? And there's no such thing of as any real estate agent in the entire industry that is not tech savvy. That's not a thing anymore. You don't need to say that anymore because you can learn how to use it. You don't have to learn. And if Facebook makes you feel like everybody's ahead of you, stop looking at Facebook and start reading about the thing that you're excited about, right?
Mhm.
Like become obsessed with the thing that's interesting to you. Don't worry about what everybody else is doing or how cool everyone else's Claude stuff is. It doesn't matter. Just in my opinion, like the real estate agent, the thing that we're staying in business for, and the reason why we'll continue to be needed and wanted in this business are the reasons why you think you're not tech savvy. Well, I'm a people person. Well, okay, great. That's what you're here for. But the reason why we've been able to build a business at scale is because we're using technology, right? So I am going to send this deck to Shelly after, in case any of you ask for it or you guys have a chat or something, she could share it because there's a lot of really good stuff in here that you could be thinking about. I work with investors, so I put some stuff together. This one's actually about Chicago, but I want you to do a little research and understand that investors need to be part of your business. On average, investors are 30% or more of the transactions in any market. How many of you are working with investors at all? Anyone? Okay, well, not all investors are bad, right? I mean, even the mom and pop or the first homeowner. I talk to all of my first time buyers as if they're investors. That
Right.
has been a game changer for me because I don't know, and I'm just going to say it straight out because it's the absolute truth. Working with the younger generation was very challenging for me at first. I grew up thinking that you had to work for hard for every single thing that you earn, and they've somehow figured out that you don't. And I don't really know what that means.
Mhm.
Um, their communication style is different. They don't want to get on the phone. They want to text. Like, and this is. I'm not trying to put them all in one box whatsoever. I'm just saying that there's different groups of or different generations that are going to be challenging to understand like what their wants and needs are, and so it's important to understand how people want to communicate, but at the same time, like treat them as if, treat them as if they're the person that they're becoming and that they want to become. if they seem like a know-it-all, then treat them as if, treat them as if they're becoming the person that's very knowledgeable about real estate investments, and they're making a huge investment. So if they have a lot of questions, give them a lot of data, give them a lot of context, treat people as if. And so, for example, when we take on our first time buyers, we actually look at the property as a rental as well. So when they're purchasing a home, we talk about, well, what would this look like if your job changed? Let's take a look at what this house would rent for, and would you keep it, or would you potentially, if you moved, does it overwhelm you to think about being a landlord? Would you want to sell it? Let's look at the exit price when you sell this home in XYZ. What are the factors that would make this a hot home in any type of market for different types of buyers? So those are conversations that sort of expand their mind in terms of what they're doing, right? It's not just a house to move into. You got a question, Shelley?
I do. But everyone's like, you talk about investors and, that could be a little intimidating to some agents. I know that you're an investor. I know that that kind of like maybe that started your journey with them. How would you approach that to get them into your business? If that was one of your goals of getting like 50% of my business to be an investors.
Yeah, so I believe that investors, number one, are also human beings.
Mhm.
They're trying to be better at whatever they're doing. So if it's a fix and flipper and their goal is to sell 10 properties this year, that means they've got to do 10 really good deals, right? If they're someone building their rental portfolio, there's a family that they want to leave that legacy to.
Mhm.
These are all people with problems that you can solve. And I think that the gap, the knowledge gap that I think many agents believe that they think that they have, or they perceive that they have, is because they're intimidated that in that conversation they're not going to know as much as maybe they know about the school district, or what's the best day of the week to list a house. And you just have to be humble and curious. And the two traits that investors love about real estate agents are, if anyone wants to guess, but they're heart and hustle.
Mm-hmm. Hustle.
It's heart and hustle. And I would say the third would be hyper local knowledge. If they're spread out and investing in different areas, they want to know that Main Street is like the border. As soon as you get on the other side of Main Street, everything changes. Or they want to know that there's a particular inspection they should do in this area because of XYZ, or they should do a structural inspection because every house built in that tract had structural problems, and whatever it is. These are the things that they want to know, but they already know their numbers. Um,
What
gonna
tools do you recommend a realtor use for an investors? Are there tools that you go, you absolutely should have this. This would be very helpful and position you in a way that makes you more attractive to be able to help them to give you more confidence and that you're giving them good, accurate numbers. Yeah, they know their numbers, but they also want to know that you know your numbers.
Yeah, I think to a certain point they want to know. I think they'll want to know what the resale value is if you're
Mhm.
bringing a property to them. Inventory is absolute king. We're heavy listing focused right now, but I've done a huge share of acquisitions for investors, even in new markets that I wasn't in. So I would say if you don't really know the area really well, or you don't know the particular neighborhood well, there are 30, or there's probably about 5 to 6 real estate agents that really do, and their phone numbers are on the MLS, and they sold a house in that neighborhood. So like, think
Question.
outside of like what and that's how I've been able to sell real estate in many markets and all
Mhm.
over different counties in Southern California for a long time, is because I rely on the data bank and the brain trust of like the entire MLS,
Mhm.
right?
Ask good
And
questions. Don't be afraid to
asking really good
call.
questions.
Mhm.
Yeah. So there's investors everywhere. There's all different types. If you just really need to find the kind of people that you want to work with. And I would say one of the biggest developers that I work with is someone that I admired from afar. She's actually become one of my best friends. And but over time, like we became friends. But the initial call went like this. Hi, Marissa. I'm Jessica Nieto. I'm a real estate broker. I wanted to give you a call because I saw another one of your projects went on the market. It's absolutely just beautiful. And I went and previewed it. And I just think that it's amazing, like what you're able to create. And I just wanted to tell you that I really love your work. And I wondered if we could get together sometime so I can hear more about your work and more about your story. And would you be open to that? She said, yeah, come over. And she's like running a million miles per hour. So I met her at one of her projects, and it was a house that was listed. She actually listed this one herself, so that's why I picked that one. And we met, and now we've done like tons of deals together. We went to Baja last week. We're talking to agents about expanding in a city out there, and it's just cool. But again, it's all about creating connections with people, right? And I'm not going to go through this whole deck, but I wanted you to I wanted to use these three words as a reference. So ROI is something we hear a lot in real estate investing, right? Return on investment. Everyone's familiar with that. And in real estate, I believe that we really need to be resonating with people, right? That's number one. This is a text that I got from an investor, and I think we're all like really hypersensitive, and we should be, about scams. Who's got the Zoom call invite from right? Meet me on Zoom. And then you're just like delete, delete, delete. So we've come up with a pretty good filter to keep us safe, but we remain curious and we remain open that not all people, especially, it's a very diverse world that we live in Southern California. And so not everyone communicates the same. And what might sound like a scam or a spam might not be, right? So this young guy, he sent me a text. He said, "Hi, Jessica. My name's Cody. I work with an investment company that has recently flipped a property in North Hollywood, and we're looking to put it on the market soon. Would you be interested?" Sounds like a scam, right?
Mhm.
Does it, right?
Yeah.
So, resonate is it what it means is to evoke a strong response. But I think in businesses, it means you do your homework. So this young gentleman, my rule is if they don't answer the phone, then they're not real. We'll call them a couple times. If they won't get on the phone with us, then I won't bother. I'll look up their phone number on Forewarn, which is usually helpful to see if someone's a real person. This guy worked in an office, a Chinese investment company. Ended up having a conversation with him. Sent him one of my Canva decks about how we'd position his North Hollywood property. Got me on the phone with his boss. She wouldn't let me finish a sentence. The first couple times I spoke to her, she just absolutely would not let me finish a sentence. Fast forward, I'm her number one real estate agent inside of like 6 months. I've sold, I think, 7 properties with them. Over like almost $6 million worth of real estate. All of that was through doing my research. I looked up every property. They'd done 70 projects inside of 18 months. And they had a bunch of properties that were sitting on the market that were nearly expired, old, aged. We went and toured about 5 of them. And I mean, it was bad. Some of these properties were uh, like the staging was terrible. One of them was dirty. One of them had a squatter in it. Like these people have problems, right? Like these are really big problems. So I didn't talk smack about the ones, the agents. I just positioned the conversation with her a little differently. I said, I understand that you work with a lot of agents and you're moving really fast and you have a really big business. And that's why I think you need to give me a few minutes and let me tell you how I can help you with your portfolio. And she was like, shit. And then she shut up. And, and she listened to me, and I've helped her. I helped her within the last month. I helped them refinance $12 million worth of property with a new hard money lender. Anybody got their broker's license? Anybody? Is anybody a broker? Well, anyway, you can make fees if you know, so get curious about how you can help people. And then my next goal with her as an investor was to sell the worst properties that she had that they should not invest in. So it's giving people really bad news, right? So I told her, I said, listen, you can lose $300,000 on this property that you bought a year ago that's sitting and requires historical preservation, or you could sell it now and lose 300, or you could do the project and lose 500, right? Because you guys just this isn't your bread and butter. And so
Hmm.
they sold it. We just sold that property actually for them last week. And I mean, there were transients inside the house. They'd cut all the copper and it was flooding. And it was just like a whole nightmare. But we closed. So the goal was not to have a happy customer at the end of that. It was just to give them to stop the bleeding, right?
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, so ask curious questions, connect and demonstrate. This was just a little bit of math, what we talked about earlier. Um, 81% of sellers contacted only one agent before deciding. So that's a pretty good statistic in your favor if you move quick. But this is just resonate math, right? Like it doesn't just win your first deal, but it's like what makes people want to come back. Like you're demonstrating that you really truly care with them, right? And you're resonating with them in a unique way. So be curious, be you, do what you say. And then the tech forward part, right? Claude, research, virtual reality. We'll go out and tour properties for our investors with virtual reality and then send it to them so they can kind of feel like they're there. But this is the Chinese investor, right? These are real text messages that I screenshotted for you guys. So
Good.
next one is omnipresent, right? ROI, omnipresent. We don't have a lot of time, so I'm going to skip through these, but I want to give you a quick example to wrap up. Um, this is the house. My clients, they were first time buyers, thinking about first time buyers that became investors. They had quite a bit of equity in this home. Everyone was sick. The house was a freaking wreck. And they called me though, and they said, Jessica, I know this is last minute, and we just don't want to do what we did last time to you and make you work with that Zillow agent that we went and toured a house because we didn't want to bother you. So we're not going to go tour this house with the Zillow agent, and we really want this house, but like we don't know how to get there. And so they had remodeled their house. They'd spent $125,000 in this home and renovated it. And they had just a couple crappy pictures of it that they sent their mom. And we were able to turn it into this so we could do a coming soon. That's me with the baby in front of their new house. We listed it January 7th. We went pending on the 14th, and we closed on their new home on the 27th. And again, that was not because we're the most amazing people on the planet. It was just because we got in, got our hands dirty, and said, like, how are we going to do this? And we mapped out a plan, right? Omnipresent. Just be thoughtful, be kind, be compassionate, but use technology, right? We use a lot of tools to make that happen. Third one, intimacy. This was a guy who found me on Gemini. I'm moving to the area in October from North Carolina. I'm interested in getting a duplex or a house with an ADU. Are you taking on new clients? Spam or scam? True story. I went and rented bikes with my brother, the little electronic bikes. And this is the picture that I sent him in the presentation. And he wanted to be able to walk to Gold's Gym or ride his bike. So I went and toured. He's in North Carolina, and I went and toured a bunch of the homes that he was interested in. And I showed him the bike tour from the house to Gold's Gym. Swear to God. And I don't know if any of you know what Venice, California is, but Gold's Gym is it's like the iconic original. But yeah, we did a lot of research on the properties. Of course, I had a lot of knowledge. That's them at dinner. He called me up and he said, Jessica, um, you know, I, Gemini said that you're like the number one agent. And I said, well, it lied to you. I I am a top producer, but I actually do not live in Venice. But I have an agent on my team that lives in Santa Monica, and she knows Venice really well. So you're going to get both of us, and we're both going to team up and help you get the house that you want. Um, so that's where I believe, like, where you can resonate, be omnipresent, and create intimacy with your clients, that's the return on the investment that you can really collect. So the time, obviously, you get freed up using the technology. You're going to generate more profit because you can do things at scale, and then the real estate is going to fund your purpose. So um, that's me at a computer when I was 9, and um, just I'm very a curious person by nature. And so I would just say, you guys got to get out of your head. And if there's anything that you feel that you aren't sure how you're going to be able to obtain it, I'll share one last thing with you. And then I'd love if you have a couple questions for me, or if, just love to learn more about what you guys are challenged with and how we can work on it together. But I would say is cultivating a belief is actually a framework. And I think a lot of times people say, like Shelly and I were talking about this before the call, which is, oh, you just need to believe in yourself. And that's not very easy to do without a framework. And just like we walked our clients through, they need to see the process and understand how they're going to get there. That's how you cultivate the belief in them. Is one is it, they they know it's there for the taking. They know that they can move out of state. They know it's possible, right? Um, and they know that they have the ability to do it, right? I know that you all have the ability to do these things and set out and get more listings. But number three is that you actually believe it'll be worth it when you get there.
Mhm.
And I think that's the big one, that as real estate agents, sometimes we set out to do things and we get there and it's like, well, I don't know if it was really worth it. And that's where you got to be specific about what it is that you're that you're spending all this time cultivating belief in yourself to do. So
That was
I hope any of that
exceptional.
was helpful. That
It's
was
exceptional.
fun.
Hmm.
Aw,
Does anybody have questions for Jessica? She's, as you can tell, completely amazing.
I see a lot of familiar faces, some I don't.
I'll go through a couple things that really stood out to me.
Cool.
I think it's important. This can help anybody in their business. A lot of the things that you said, of course, and that's why you're on here. But just as a framework, embracing tools and technology is sounds like where you start. You've created templates, and templates create efficiency. But then you've taken those templates, and then you mentioned customizing. And customizing is like, well, how do we customize that? And understanding who you are working with and what are their needs. So you're basically taking those templates that you've created with these tools and technology, but now you're customizing them by understanding who you're working with, what are their needs, and of course you're asking lots of questions to get that information. And then doing your research, and then speed to response, I think, is a huge one also. And I think we all can do better with speed to response.
We all can.
That is something that when I started, I built my business. I was, brand new, super green, but I got so many deals by being super fast. I mean, I would respond to
Yeah.
anybody whenever they, asked me a question immediately. I didn't care if it was 10, 11 o'clock, but at night. But I mean, you also have to have boundaries. But when you're young and hungry and you're new in the game, and you want to see, like, how are all these people doing it? Sometimes you got to put in the work, and that's one way to get way out in front of those people that have the experience, because they're not going to answer their phone at 11 o'clock. So great
100%.
points, and I appreciate you coming on here and doing this.
Thanks,
It was
Greg.
awesome.
Yeah, I agree. And I think too, like we evolve. So if answering calls at 10 and 11 is something that changes about you as you go from that young in the business to sort of like, I need boundaries, like we all do at some point, then you can still be the first one to respond and the one that gets the business, and then clearly outline the hours that you're available, right? So it's all like we all evolve, but I think the speed to respond is super, super important. That's really helped me a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Um,
I think you made a great point there. It doesn't have to be black and white when it's speed to response. You could respond and say, fantastic, I'm going to jump on this first thing in the morning and do some research and get you those answers. And now they're willing to wait because you've responded, and they know you will respond, and they'll get that
Agreed.
information that they want. So there's a way to do that as well, if you're willing to do that.
Yeah. The other thing that's really helpful for us that blows people's mind is so simple is we always under promise what we're going to give. So even that guy, for example, I told him that I would send it to him by the afternoon, and then I sent it, or the following morning, and I sent him to him that day. So if we're giving it to people in an hour, we're not telling them we're going to give it to them in an hour. And
No.
so we always like change the time of which whatever time I know I can do it by, like it's in my calendar and it's getting done, I will overestimate the time. And that way, every single time it's in before. I also keep a list of anything that comes out of my mouth that I say I will do.
Can you get this?
So,
That one sounds silly, but I'm telling you guys, it blows people's mind, and the reason is because most people don't do what they say they're going to do. Isn't that crazy?
Mhm.
Like that's who we're competing against. Most people will say something that's like kind of extra and fun in the moment, and then they don't actually do that. So, for example, I got excited and nerded out because I love data, and so when I talk to my engineer type clients, I get like I kind of get into it. I'm like, yeah, and then we do this and we blah blah blah, and they're all like interested in it. And I'll say, yeah, you know what? I'll send you that so you can see that right there. You just said you're going to do something, even if it's not a big deal, you got to deliver it because they're paying attention to it. Yeah, they're paying attention to it. So, well, you all are all great professionals. I'm sure I could learn so much from you. So, I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you, but I'd love if, even if it's not a question, even if you just want to chime in with something challenging or something that's going on with listings in your market, we'll love to chat about it.
I loved it all. Thank you, Jessica. It was
Hey,
great
Karen.
information and just, good reminders on so many things and some new things I learned. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Good to see you. How about you, Mike?
Oh, Mike Vanderpool.
Not
There
sure
he
if
is.
I'm the only mic on the call, but I'll respond anyway. So I think what resonated, I guess my big takeaway is the speed, the lead situation is I always try to get back to people as quickly as possible, not only to set realistic expectations for them regarding me, but it kind of sets the standard for other agents. If they happen to be talking to other people and I respond within 5-10 minutes to any text, email, phone call, and it takes the other agents that are competing with me for a listing or even sometimes buyers are talking to multiple people, and the other agents are getting back in a half hour, 45 minutes, sometimes even the next day. That kind of sets you apart right there. So I think that's a big takeaway for everybody on the call. The speed to lead is a big situation, big advantage.
Yeah, and deliverables, right? That
Yeah.
7% was pretty incredible to me. And if you look up in the NAR, I'm sure you guys all get the bulletin or whatnot, but there's the article has a bunch of stats in there, and it was fascinating. It was like it basically said most agents know that the reason why they're not getting the listing is because they're not delivering or providing the deliverables that they said they would within the time that they said they would, and that they also believe that that's the reason why they're not getting listings. They're like, oh my gosh, we get it's like a fixable problem, right? So it's interesting.
I
And
like
maybe
that.
this isn't for any of you, but it's for the people that you train or teach or on your team, or in your organization. So
I like
sorry,
that you
Shelly, you're gonna
come
say
at
something.
I just think like that you have a plan. Like you come at it like people like to know that you have a process and a plan and that you're committed to their success. And whether you're doing agent attraction or whether you're helping them with their sales. I think it's super important for
Right.
people to feel supported and heard. Like when recently, this is a little bit off topic, but it isn't, is sometimes just building a quick website on Lovable for somebody. I did that
Oh
recently.
yeah, it's
There's so
so
many, the
good.
tools are so
We
good.
do that too.
You build a
It's just
website
so
for
easy.
them because they're not used to having that kind of support, whether it's a listing, a
Yeah.
buyer, an agent coming on board, or just showing them that you're going to do what you said you're going to do and actually above and beyond. I also there's like I called what you did as like I like how you framed your CMA, and I like that you don't call it a CMA because I think everyone's heard that word and it sounds like
Mhm.
everybody else. But I like that you framed it the way that you did. I've been doing like CEO briefings for listings for price reductions.
I love that.
And it takes the emotion out of it when you need to get the pricing changing. So it's something I've been wanting
Hmm.
to shoot a video and I haven't done it. It's been like 2 weeks. So I thought I was going to do that. I need to do that. But that's a helpful tool. And I was just showing some agents how to do that. And they're like, if you can take things and frame it for people, they can take the emotion out of it and make better decisions and make quicker decisions.
Right. Another thing I'll touch on too is the volatility of things going on in the market. So I'm curious. I don't know if this is all happening for you, but buyers don't have as much money in the bank and saved, and there's a lot of variables that are making them get cold feet in the middle of escrow. We're
Mm,
seeing a lot of that in California anyway. And with inflation, they're really concerned about repairs,
mm.
right? So it's just about be dynamic. You got to adjust with the times. And on average, I do so many listings that I see things I feel like a little bit faster, whereas some agents, it seems like it takes them about 3 months to catch up to what's going on. Anyone ever notice that? You're
Mhm.
like, you guys are like, guys, we got to pay attention to what's going on and how we can help our customers before our listing expires. So doing pre-inspections, that's one of the things that we do instead, or we just change things up a little bit, and we're looking at comps that sold in potentially a little bit of a different market still, kind of scraping comps that are still like, well, it sold for that, but it was a little bit different in some of the submarkets that we're in. So that we have to look at those listings and say, hey, yeah, I understand that house sold for $1,025,000, but if I put your house on the market for over $1 million, it's not going to sell very quickly. It's going to sit for a little bit. So we've got to position you here, and I'll do my very best to get you back here. So having those conversations, and I think what it really comes down to is being direct and being honest. And a lot of agents that we're competing against, right, that we're all competing against, are maybe skilled at many things, but they don't want to tell people like, if bad news, right? And so just being direct about like, yeah, I understand, but this is how we're going to get there. But people respect and appreciate that. So they might not hire you, but at least you didn't take a listing that's going to sit. We have to take listings that are going to sell right now. We're not in the business of taking listings that expire, and we spend our money and time. So you need to be working with people that have an actual need to sell. And the other ones, those aren't for me. So yeah.
That's actually a really good point, because like you said, the one house sold for 300,000. They lost money, but you were stopping the bleeding. They're going to lose 500,000. But those tough conversations, a lot of agents might like either shy away from it. I'm not going to get that listing because they're not going to want to like the news. But at the end, he was on this call. I took a listing in Charlotte where you had to be really real with the sellers, right? And that was, you want to share a little bit about that?
Are you talking about Sean and Mari?
Mari, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean they bought this property a couple of years ago. He was an executive that didn't live in Charlotte, and but came here because the headquarters was here. So they bought a place, a condo, um, at the time when it was a good time to buy a condo, and he listed, a few months ago when it was not a great time to list a condo, and had a number in his head and kept hitting that. I spent this, I spent this, I spent this, and it's just. I mean, I told him from day one, it's like, I mean, just truth be told, man, it doesn't matter what you spent. The market is telling us this is the price. This is where things are sitting, and this is where things are moving. If you want to move it, we got to price it right. All right. And it just,
Yep.
it took a little time, but it finally got to that point. They did some different things. They included all the furniture and everything. So it made it completely turnkey, but
Nice.
it just, yeah. But having those honest conversations, I mean, he was an executive, so it's easy, in my opinion, it's easier a little bit sometimes to have those honest conversations with somebody that is sitting in a boardroom or something like that, because they're used to it. So anyway.
Good point.
Yeah, I agree with that. Different people have different communication styles, I would say like dealing with the real estate agents on that side, that's one whole piece of it. On the asset management side, dealing with neighbors, dealing with the problems that we deal with. It's not just how do we get the listings and how do we get how do we get through it, And so just being a problem solver is that's probably why even if I could retire and not work in real estate, I'll probably work in real estate for a really long time, because I love solving problems. It's fun, So it was good spending time with you guys. Is anybody going to be? What's the next big event? EXPCon.
Yeah.
We'll see you at EXPCon. I'm looking
Utah.
forward to that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Are you there right now, Shelley? Is that where you
No,
are?
I'm in Montana, but I was
You're-
going to
oh,
say
Montana. Why did I
also,
say Utah?
if any of you guys don't know Carrie Sloab, who is an AI specialist, her and Nick Krim, who's also an AI specialist, are having an event next Monday and
Yes.
Tuesday in Canada at Niagara Falls. And I can promise
It's gonna
you,
be
like,
amazing.
they're going to create AI agents while you're there. It's going to be such a great event. And if you haven't like looked at it, you should. We'll drop it in the Impact Worldwide page. She's a total badass when it
Carrie's
comes
a
to
badass.
AI.
Yeah.
And she's a nice
Awesome.
person. She's a good human.
Yes.
And Nick is too. So I've learned a lot from them, just being around them and the social circle. So if you want to like up your game there, that would be a great place to do it really quickly, because I found that like Jessica, Craig, and I, David Gerwells, we go to a lot of events. I know Jeff's gone to them, Lisa, a lot of you have gone to a lot of these events for our company. And I will tell you, that's where you level up, because you take time away from your business. You focus on something that you've been meaning to think about doing, and it forces you to learn things to do that. Like coming to this call, we learned about the canary that the company is paying
House
for.
canary, yep.
Yeah, I couldn't remember exactly what they had negotiated on that. So we'll be sharing that in the Impact Insider, which comes out in a couple days to you guys. You'll be getting that. We send it out to all 4,100 of you inside of Impact Worldwide. All the leaders get it, and then you share it to your organizations. So, or your organization, the folks in your group. So we're going to be seeing that out. The House Canary will be in there. We'll make sure you also know how to connect into the hub. A lot of agents, even though you guys are here, don't know how to connect into the hub, and it's a powerful tool. So we
Powerful
want you
tool.
guys to be connected to the company because of these resources and people like Jessica, and they're doing big things, and we all just want to share and make each other better. So Jessica, thank you so much for getting up at the crack of
Yeah. Closing comment. Shelly's the reason why I said yes to come to EXP almost 7 years ago. And she said on the call, everyone else was all talk, but Shelly said, so are you ready to sign? I'll stay on the phone with you. Are you ready to sign? Are you ready to fill out this application? I'm like, oh my God, this lady. No. So I appreciate you, Shelly. It's been such a
Well,
blessing
it's
and
been
so
a
great to know all of
for
you.
all of us. It's really been
Yeah,
life-changing, right? In the
it has.
relationships. Like, who would think
Oh my God.
the
I
depth of
know, we've
relationship?
all grown up. So we'll
Yep.
appreciate y'all.
And we're on different teams.
Christine,
We work great
Margaret,
together.
Danny, bye. Good to see you guys. Craig, good to see y'all.
David, we want
Have
to
a
get
great
you on one
rest of
of
your
these and
week.
share, because David Gerwels, I see him on these calls. He is a bad guy.
David's a
He's
badass.
a
Yeah,
good
he
guy.
is.
He's like does major luxury real estate, has a great organization. He's a part of the inner circle. And you guys just need to know him on a personal level. So we're gonna be reaching out to you today, like in like 3 minutes, to put you on the calendar, get you in there, David, to talk and share.
Awesome.
That was great.
Good to see you guys.
Thank you,
Bye.
Have a
Jessica.
good one.
Team.
You rock.
See ya. Bye.
Bye,
Bye
guys.
bye.